Hey everyone, welcome back to day 11 of 30 Days to Fluent English. I'm Peter, and today we're going to talk about something super important: how to keep a conversation going in English.
Yep. Have you ever been in a conversation where after a few sentences, there's just silence and you're like, what do I say now?
Oh, totally. It's that awkward moment when the conversation just dies, and you feel stuck, especially if you're speaking in English.
Right? It happens to everyone, but don't worry. Today we'll teach you simple tricks to keep any conversation flowing naturally.
Exactly. You'll learn how to ask better questions, how to respond with more than just yes or no, and how to smoothly change topics when things slow down.
And of course, we'll give you some great filler phrases so you sound more natural in conversations.
By the end of this episode, you'll feel much more confident in conversations and never run out of things to say.
All right, let's jump in.
Let's start with the biggest mistake people make in conversations. They ask questions that lead to a dead end. These are questions that only require a simple yes or no answer. Let's take an example.
If I ask you, do you like music? The answer will probably be yes or no, and then what? The conversation stops.
But if I ask, what kind of music do you like? Now the other person has something to talk about. They can say, oh, I love rock music. My favorite band is Coldplay. Now you can continue the conversation by asking, why do you like Coldplay?
So remember, when you ask questions, try to use what, how, or why instead of yes or no questions. This will give the other person more to say and keep the conversation going.
Another problem is that sometimes we give very short answers, which can kill the conversation. Let's try an example. If someone asks you, do you like traveling? And you just say yes, the conversation stops right there.
But if you say, yes, I love traveling. Last year, I went to Thailand, and it was amazing. Have you ever been there? Now you're not just answering, you're giving new information and asking a question back. That keeps the conversation alive.
So a good rule is, when you answer, always add at least one extra detail or a follow-up question.
Native speakers rarely just say yes or no. They use fillers to sound more natural. Here are some examples.
Instead of just saying yes, you can say, yeah, definitely. Instead of just saying no, you can say, not really, but I'd love to try it someday. Instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about it.
Using fillers like, well, actually, and makes your speech sound smoother and more natural.
Sometimes a conversation starts to slow down, and you need to change the topic smoothly. Here's how you can do it.
You can use transition phrases like, that reminds me, and then introduce a new topic. For example, that reminds me, have you ever been to Japan? You can also say, speaking of that, and then connect it to something related. For example, speaking of travel, do you have a dream destination? Another phrase you can use is, oh, by the way. For example, oh, by the way, did you see the news today?
So with these techniques, you'll be able to keep conversations going smoothly. But here's something interesting. Keeping a conversation alive isn't just about what you say, it's also about understanding cultural differences.
In English-speaking countries, small talk is a huge part of daily interactions. It helps people feel more comfortable and keeps conversations flowing. You might hear small talk everywhere, at work, at a cafe, even when waiting in line at a store.
Right! And what do people usually talk about? Well, it's mostly light, neutral topics. For example, in the US and the UK, people often talk about the weather, TV shows, weekend plans, or sports. They might say things like, it's been so hot lately, hasn't it? Did you watch the latest episode of that show? Got any fun plans for the weekend?
That's right, but one thing to remember, some topics are too personal or too controversial for small talk, like money, religion, or politics. So if you want to keep the conversation friendly, stick to general topics that everyone can relate to.
Another interesting part of English-speaking culture is storytelling. In many Western countries, people love sharing personal experiences when having a conversation. If you can tell a short, interesting story, people will naturally stay engaged.
That's true. Think about it. If someone asks you, how was your weekend? Instead of just saying it was good, you could say, oh, it was great. I went hiking with some friends and we found this amazing hidden waterfall. It was pretty fun. I tried making homemade pizza, but I totally burned it. Have you ever had a cooking disaster?
See, you're not just answering the question, you're giving the other person something interesting to react to. Maybe they'll say, "Oh wow, I love hiking too," or "Haha, I once burned my pancakes." This makes the conversation much more natural and fun.
Okay, so we've talked about small talk and storytelling, but there's another key part of keeping conversations going: active listening. In English, it's important to show the speaker that you're really listening.
Right! In many cultures, it's normal to just listen quietly while someone talks. But in English-speaking countries, people often use small responses to show they're engaged. They might say things like, "Oh, really? No way! That sounds amazing. I see what you mean."
Exactly. And people also use body language, like nodding, making eye contact, or slightly leaning forward to show they're paying attention. So if you want to sound more natural in English, practice using short reactions like "oh wow" or "that's interesting" while listening.
All right, here's your challenge for today.
Step 1, choose a conversation topic like music, travel, or hobbies. Step 2, practice asking open-ended questions. Step 3, try using one filler phrase in a sentence.
And in the comments, tell us, what's your favorite way to keep a conversation going?
So keep practicing, try today's challenge, and most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's right. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. And remember, English is about connection, not perfection.
We'll see you tomorrow for day 12 of our 30-day challenge.
Until then, keep talking, keep practicing, and have fun with English.
Bye for now.